Welcome to Political Perspectives. We're talking today in the immediate aftermath of the presidential debate in Philadelphia. I'm Hugo Gurdon, editor-in-chief of the Washington Examiner, and I'm joined, as usual, by Byron York, our chief political correspondent. And Byron, you're in Philadelphia. It was a big night. It cannot be said that it was a great success for President Trump, can it?
No, it wasn't. On the other hand, from the very beginning, watching the debate, I wondered how much difference this was going to make. For example, how many voters are there out there who are watching the debate and kind of slap their foreheads and say, wow, I had no idea Trump had been charged in a crime. What I'm saying is the public knew a lot of this stuff. Now,
Right.
Shortly after the debate, I was talking to a high-ranking Trump campaign official. And I said, well, how do you read what happened? And he said, well, she was all aspiration and he was all action, which is kind of an interesting way to describe what happened, in the sense that she was promising what she would do were she elected president, promising on the economy, on restoring abortion around the nation, on a number of things like that, to pass a bill that she claims would solve the border problem that had died in Congress earlier. So she was promising all these things. Now, this was a promise made out of necessity, because she's been vice president for 3.5 years and doesn't really have a record to run on. So
Right.
she wants to create an opportunity economy. That's what she wants to do for us all.
So let's have a look. Let's have a look at, Byron, exactly connected with that. I want you to have a look at a clip from President Trump's final statement, which began perhaps 87 minutes into a 90-minute debate.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in.
So Byron, there was President Trump in the final minutes. He had the last statement of the debate, and he finally started to talk about the fact that you were just discussing, which is Vice President Harris has been second in command of this hapless administration, which we've all been suffering from for nearly 4 years, for its entire time. So he finally started to link her with the failures of the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration. But he hadn't really done that in the first 87 minutes of the debate. And that was surely his one job, was to show that she was not the candidate of change and hope. She was the candidate of continuing what everyone admits or wants to get rid of.
Yeah, a lot of Republicans were frustrated by that. Not that they didn't like the statement. They liked it a lot. They thought it was Trump hit the nail right on the head. They just thought, why is he doing this in his closing statement? Why wasn't it his opening statement? They wanted to see that a lot earlier, because obviously in a long debate, a lot of members of the audience tune out after a while. They watch a little bit and then they're gone.
Right.
So if they left, they didn't see it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there was a fair amount of frustration in that.
Yeah. It was a frustrating performance, I'm sure, for everybody on Team Trump. And their frustration must also have been with the moderators at ABC News, whose bias was really pretty clear and who frankly did not put in anything like as respectable a performance as the CNN anchors in the debate between Biden and Trump. And I just wanted to have a look at another clip where they were fact-checking Trump in real time, and then they were letting things slide with Vice President Harris. And the one that really struck out to me is that she repeated the falsehood that Trump had referred to the Charlottesville racists as fine people, whereas it is explicit, if one actually watches the clip, that he was not referring to the racists and the rioters.
Let's remember Charlottesville. where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
You had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
Talk a little bit about the caliber of the moderation and the extent to which ABC News is to blame for the debacle for Trump.
Well, I think they're 100% to blame for running a bad debate, not for Trump's performance necessarily, but certainly running a bad debate. And a lot of the questions seemed framed to help Harris, and clearly on the fact checking, they decided to cross a line and to begin fact checking Trump, which they did on multiple occasions, and not to fact check Harris. And so what you're going to have now in the aftermath of the debate is everybody does fact checks after a debate. They'll fact check what Trump said, and they'll fact check what Harris said. But now we have an additional thing, which is you have to fact check what the fact checker said.
Right.
And some of the things that they said were somewhat dubious. So, this is interesting. This debate happened the day after the Media Research Center, the conservative media watchdog group, came out with a study they had done of ABC News's coverage of the Harris campaign ever since the big switch on July 21st, all the way up until, I think, September 6th. And they found that ABC's coverage of Harris had been 100% positive in terms of statements that ABC reporters or anchors made, and that their coverage of Trump had been 93% negative. So the question was, would ABC conduct a debate that was fair and equitable, or would they conduct a debate that was along the lines of the way they cover the news in this campaign? And it turned out to be the latter.
Right. Yeah. So it was a failure by ABC News, and it's something that should be remembered. But it also has to be acknowledged that Trump was ill-disciplined, and Harris was actually really pretty good at baiting him into discussing things which had nothing to do with what voters' concerns are. So that, for example, she got him to riff on how big the crowd sizes were at his rallies, and how many hundreds of millions he inherited or didn't inherit from his parents.
So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back.
And Trump, your
Well,
response?
first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that.
She managed to get under his skin, didn't she?
Yeah, well, the Harris campaign from the very beginning has been really first-rate trolls. I mean, they do it a lot. You can see it in their rapid response, their internet presence. They're just trolling Trump all the time, trying to get under his skin to help him hope that he will make some sort of intemperate, maybe self-destructive remark in response. So that's been going along. You saw it in the whole first term. The Lincoln Project did that a huge amount. So there's kind of an industry out there devoted to trying to troll Trump, and now Harris has taken it up, and she did accomplish that. And Trump also didn't push, I think, as hard as he could. I mean, for example, a couple of days ago, there was a CNN story that pointed out that I believe in an ACLU questionnaire, Harris, back in her 2020 campaign, her campaign for president in the Democratic primaries, had come out in favor of government-provided transition surgery for transgender illegal immigrants. I mean, it was it was pretty far out there on the policy scale.
Kamala Harris was trying to get to the left of Bernie Sanders. She was trying to get to the left of Elizabeth Warren, and you really see that. Let's just take immigration and look at what she said here. She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she supported
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She actually said she supported that.
She both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this.
And it's something you could have pounded her with because she actually did it.
Yes.
Trump mentioned it once, but went away from there. She never had to respond.
He mentioned it sort of obliquely.
Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
And it showed a kind of that he wasn't completely the master of the facts, or at least could not articulate them in the way that was clear to viewers. So and this is where we'll leave it, Byron, he has to do a better job, doesn't he? His campaign has to do a better job of focusing attention not on himself, which is his natural thing to do perhaps, and more on the fact that Harris and the fact that she has been jointly responsible with President Biden of the past 4 years, which has the majority of the country saying the nation is on the wrong track. He has to do a better job, doesn't he?
He does. And I mean, we know some things about voter attitudes, that they feel like they don't really know what Harris believes. And the reason they don't know is because she hasn't told them. But they also feel that she represents continuity from the Biden administration when the voters, would like to see change. And that Trump to them represents change more than Harris does. So those are kind of clues to maybe what Trump should be doing for the next several weeks, which is pounding on this very theme. But this is a case in which one of the candidates, is unusually well known to the voters. He was president, then he was a former president. He's the most famous person on the planet, and people have their opinions of him. And so it's just going to come down on election day, or election month, as we call it now, to voters looking at this saying, do I want more Joe Biden or not?
Yeah. Well, so he still has time to make voters, to pull voters in his direction. We don't have any more time today, Byron. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, and we'll be back next time with Political Perspectives.